My name is T.K. Nelson. As far as my martial arts background goes, and I've done so much. I guess currently I teach what I refer to as K.S.K and Armas Kali. I teach them at a school I call K.S.K Martial Arts, and we also refer to K.S.K Martial Arts as a group and a family. But what those two things are is they are an empty hand curriculum and a weapons curriculum. And the empty hand curriculum is basically a logical put together, if you will, of what I feel is the kind of the culmination of the principles and techniques I feel link up well together from all the different arts I've studied. The arts I currently study that contribute to that are the Junfan Jeet Kune Do, Mafalindo Silat, Gracie Jiu Jitsu specifically. There's so many, you know. Do a lot of Balintawak, Wing Chun. In the past, I've done Shorin-ryu Karate, Taekwondo, Hapkido, a lot of time with Sukendo, Tadashi Yamashita. Study a lot of things. Do a lot of combat submission wrestling, stuff like that. And the Armas Kali is comprised of primarily the Lakasta and Asano Kali blend. Some of the Balintawak that I've been studying I've been doing Balintawak now for maybe 5.5 years under Sifu David Hatch. And a little bit of the Kobudo that I did as well, a little bit of the Kabrika Brong, but it's primarily Filipino weapon based.
So why do you put the two together, the empty and the weapons?
No, I actually separate the two curriculums. The reason I separate the two curriculums is I've simply found, to me, they're one, you know, but I find that I have had students that will come to me and say, you know, I have no interest in learning the weapon, or, you know, I just want to learn the empty hand. And I've had students who come to me that don't have any interest in the empty hand. Says, oh, I want to learn the weapons. Weapons are cool, or maybe it's all they have time for, or what their schedule allows for. Or they do another empty hand art and they just want to expand their weapon art. And so I teach them in separate curriculums so that people can kind of choose what they want. Now, having said that, once they're in the weapon art, I feel like, well, then if you're going to study weaponry, you should study weaponry. So we look at, you know, the single stick and double stick, single knife double stick, or single knife double knife, stick and knife, sword, staff. You know, we put all the impact and edge weapon material together. Just like I feel like if you're going to study the empty hand, you should understand all pieces of it. So we study the trapping, the manipulation, the clinching, the grappling, the striking. We study all those areas together and try to put it in an order that's logical so you can understand it versus always having to separate everything out. You know, when I learn, I learn everything separately, but my students don't always have time to study every single thing separately like I do. They don't have that obsessive compulsion to study it their entire life, every waking moment like I do. So I try to say, okay, well, if somebody has those time constraints, you know, what is it that we can do? How can we link all the basics and the fundamentals up and figure out how they work together and then build on top of that? So I consider myself a specialist in a certain area of martial arts. At one point in time, I'm sure, or I would say that I'm sure people would probably say I'm a specialist in probably Filipino martial arts, and that makes sense because Filipino martial arts does cover weapons and striking and groundwork and clinching. You know, and trapping. It's all in there in Filipino martial arts. At one point, I probably would have agreed with them. But I feel like because I do so much of so many martial arts, I think now when if I were to say what do I specialize in, I know this sounds odd, but I really feel that my specialization is in teaching. And I know that it sounds really strange, but for me, I spend a lot of time in creating like what's the best lesson plan. I make a lesson plan for every class. I never just come in and wing it unless I have no time. But I actually make time, I organize time to write a lesson plan so that I kind of know ahead of time who's going to be in class. I sort of keep a little algorithm or a little cycle of, you know, so-and-so shows up this many days a week and so-and-so is here on a Tuesday and so-and-so on a Thursday. And so I write lesson plans in order to specifically help people along, the consistent people, with the curriculum and get them to move forward. And in that lesson plan, I'll write down notes, of, okay, well, so-and-so needs to work on this, and so-and-so needs to work on that. And when I write the next lesson plan, I look at the last one, and I use those notes to build on the next one. I do teaching cycles in certain subjects to make sure that an equal amount of time is kind of given on everything to make sure everything does get covered and connected. I spend a lot of time making sure that my students get to see everything in a logical order that makes sense and connects things together. And I think that being a teacher takes a lot of specialization. You have to understand time management. You have to understand how to communicate your art to more than just a person like yourself. You can't, to teach, you can't just say, okay, do it like this. You have to have details for people to say, oh, okay, you mean move it like this, and then put this pressure here, and roll your hip that way. You have to have those details. It's just like anything else. It's a school. It's a place of learning. If you just want to like here, grab an arm and pull it like this, well, you can do that with your buddies in your living room floor. So I want people to come here and actually be able to learn, like real learning. And so just like any college or schooling, that they write out lesson plans. They have a syllabus. We do the same thing here. I want to make sure that it's the most best optimal learning experience for a student possible. So I'd say that I specialize in teaching. Currently I train with, as much as I can, with Guru Dan Inosanto in several arts. I train with Professor K.S.K. He's my Gracie Jiu-Jitsu teacher. I train with Sifu David Hatch. We do Balintawak, Wing Chun, and a lot of the Inosanto material as well. I train with Coach Sean Kitzman in Synergy Martial Arts and Combat Submission Wrestling. I train with Baron Brat in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He's actually one of K.S.K.'s students. As far as training partners go, in the last 10 years, at least, probably the best training partner I've had is my best friend and brother, Brett Eckhart. Brett, I feel bad for him sometimes because I completely dominate his life. It's like, hey, I want to do a seminar here. Hey, I want to do something there. Come on, I'm taking you with me. And it's always a poor guy. It's always, come on, we got to prep for that seminar. We're not just going in there and winging it. We've got to be good for these folks. We got to have it planned out. So we're going to rehearse and we're going to get everything set up. I feel bad for Brett sometimes, but I'm so grateful that he's in my life. He's such an amazing training partner because he'll get in there and we'll work on things, and I rely on his honest feedback. He has no problem sometimes telling me, yeah, that's not working like you think it is. And if it wasn't for him and that honest feedback, then I wouldn't be half as successful as we are. When we go do seminars, like we did Jersey this year, and we're going out to Boston at the end of the month, and guys contact me about seminars. I tell them, it's not just me. You're bringing Guru Brett out with me, because he's a big part of this. I got a pretty bad shoulder injury, and when I go and train like out at Professor Chet's in LaGrange, Indiana, I'll bring Brett with me because I know that we can do all the material together. And he's going to be safe with me because a safe training partner is big. Being able to have a safe training partner but still get the information is big. In the last few years, we had a student training here that just got his apprentice instructor under me named Larry Mouton. And Larry he's one of the ones that actually has shown me a bunch of the wrestling. He's brought a lot to the table in here. We had another one, Tom Jones, that he's coming in. He's brought a lot to the table. And Tom, actually, it was I met him through his brother, Todd, and his brother Todd was one of my original grappling teachers, and he did jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and he could combine them together. And he's one of the people that made me see that wrestling is so valid. It's so valid. A lot of people look at it as sport. Wrestling and boxing are both martial arts. I don't care what you say about them. There's I feel like I'm going to leave somebody out, and I know I will because there's so many good training partners out there. I've had so many. Sensei David Hayes, Mike Thu, Dan Holland, Nick Swino. Nick Swino runs a great judo school, Iaido school out of Ann Arbor called the Japanese Martial Arts Center. Get a chance to talk to him. We've done seminars for him out there, and he's a great open-minded guy. Awesome. Like I said, I spent 15 years training with Tadashi Yamashita. You know, I'm almost uncomfortable with that question because there's been so many good people I've trained with over the years. I would hate to offend somebody, truly. But so I guess if you're watching this and you've trained with me, thank you. That's what I really mean to say. If you're watching this and you've trained with me, thank you, because there isn't a single person that I've worked with that I haven't learned something from. Whether I'm teaching them or they're teaching me, I've learned something on some level from them.